Hello. Um, I think I'm back into reading. I kind of wasn't reading for a while there, but I think I'm reading again. Hopefully you can hear me okay. This computer is being really loud. Um, I don't know if you can hear that, like, whirring, but that's the computer. So, I'm sorry if that is unbearable. And hopefully somebody lets me know if it is, because I mean, there's not really anything I can do about it, I don't think. Let me try to turn off the fan. See if that helps. Because it is, like, running a little crazy. Okay. Anyway. So I read this week for the first time in what seems like a long time. Which felt really nice. So I'm gonna try to do a quick reading wrap up. Is it ever quick? And then after that, try to figure out what I still need to read for the rest of the readathon, because I'm still going to read for another month, but there's still a lot of books I haven't read, so I need to get my butt into gear. Okay, so the last book that I would have talked about was Sorcerer of the Wild Deeps, and I don't think I actually... Yeah, I didn't actually put, like, when I read it and how much I DNF'd that. So I read it on the 18th, and I DNF'd it at 26%. I should have done that last week, but I didn't. Okay, lightning round on the other things that I read. So then on the 19th, I started reading Confessions, and I actually only got through the first hour of Confessions. And then on the 20th, I read a lot more of Confessions. I ended up getting through the next 5 hours, and then I ended up finishing... It's only 7 hours. I don't know why I thought it was 8. That on Monday. And then on Friday... I ended up listening to some of the second book in the Bobiverse series. I don't remember what it's called. We are... Oh. For We Are Many. So I would guess that I listened to the first like 3 hours of that on Friday. I don't quite know because it was on Christopher's phone and I didn't quite look at it. And then it's 9 hours long, and we finished listening to it on Monday. And then also on the 21st, did a lot of listening that day. I ended up listening to the entirety of Camp Damascus. On the 22nd, I started listening to Ghosted. On the 20... So, actually that was a lie. On the 21st, I started listening to Ghosted, and I only got to the first hour. And then on the 22nd, I kept listening to that, and I got 5 hours through it. And then the next day, I got to 7 hours. And then on the 24th, I ended up getting through the last of it, which it was 11 hours. And then on the 25th, I listened to the first 5 hours of House of Roots and Ruin. I also finished The 13th Child. And then I listened to the first hour of Thorn Hedge. And then finished that up today. So that's all my reading. And I'm currently listening to, I started today, my best friend's exorcism. So definitely a lot more reading and a lot more consistent reading this week, which feels so good. Although I haven't been feeling like physically reading, so that's something that next month I'm really gonna have to like put my focus into. So now I'm gonna do reviews of the books. I'm gonna do reviews of the books that I did finish this week, and then I can plan my reading for next week. And I'm also going to try to figure out which books that I have read in the last month and what prompts they fit into for the autumn equinox readathon. Okay, so for my reading for the week, I listened to, what one? I'm just gonna, for all the books for the last, since the last time I talked to you, I'm gonna fit the data. Okay. So the last, okay, and then I also need to pull up Storygraph. As well as Goodreads. Okay. Alright. I did put in this book, but I never ended up copying it into my spreadsheet, which is very silly. Okay, now I'm all caught up, can start reviewing these books. Okay, so the first book I finished this week was Confessions, which is like thriller. I think it's classified as a horror, but I don't know. Sometimes it's classified as a horror, although not super strong. I guess it's a thriller mystery, and basically, the blurb says her pupils killed her daughter. Now she will have her revenge. So basically, it's just a bunch of confessions from different people, and it gets really twisty and turny, and has lots of surprises. But we're basically hearing like the same story from like multiple people's perspectives and point of views, and learning new stuff every time. And I ended up really enjoying it. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I had a lot of good time with it. It's by Kane Minato, and it was translated by Steven Snyder. And it was originally in Japanese. And yeah, I don't know. I don't typically read thrillers. This is probably like within my first like 5 thrillers that I've ever read. So one of my first thrillers ever, and I ended up really liking it. I thought it was very compelling and interesting. I don't know. I don't feel like I have too much to say about it, but I would recommend it. I really liked it. But I wouldn't want to say too much because I didn't know a lot going into it, and I was like very surprised a lot of the time. And this was on, what day did I finish this? The 21st. 4 stars. I can recommend. Okay. And then the next book that I finished is, I did a buddy read with Christopher. We listened to it driving back and forth from his parents' house to For We Are Many, which is the second book in the Bobaverse series. So basically, can't really tell you what this one's about because, like, spoilers, but the premise of the first book is that the main character, Bob, is just like an average working class fellow. It's like the beginning of the 20th century, like it is now, and he ends up coming into a large inheritance. It's not an inheritance, but he ends up getting a big sum of money randomly, and he's like, what the heck, I'm gonna decide to like invest in like oh gosh, what is it called? Where they like freeze you so they can like bring you back to life when they have the future technology. He's like, I'm gonna put in, I keep wanting to think cryostasis, but that's just when you like are sleeping on a space journey. But he decides to go in for that, and puts in money for that, since he has money to burn. And like on his way out of there, he's like walking and he gets hit by a car and dies. And so then he wakes up and it's like 100+ years later, and people who are being incarnated, like brought back, are called revenants, and he is a revenant, and they are like not autonomous, like they are government property, and he has the option to be like shut off or to like help the US government, and ends up, he's basically, his mission is to like go to space and find habitable planets, for humanity to migrate to. And the reason why it's called the Bobiverse series, the first book is called We Are Legion, We Are Bob, is because Bob keeps making more Bobs, and so as we go, more and more characters start getting introduced, and there's more and more Bobs, but they each have different names and personalities, and it just keeps evolving, and they start turning into like their own entities, and ends up taking place over a pretty large expanse of time. Anyway, it was super interesting. The first one, I really liked it, and I really liked this one too. I don't know which one I liked more. I think I would like them about the same. I'm giving them both 4 stars. I think I might have liked this one a little bit more, but that also just could have been, Chris and I buddy read the first book a year ago, but we listened to it on our own. And sometimes I got confused by the characters or the situations or the science. But this one we listened together like while we were physically in the same space. And if I had questions, I was able to pause it and ask him, and he could explain stuff to me. And I think that just being able to be physically with him while listening to it, I think, increased my personal enjoyment. So, but I don't know that me like enjoying the book more is actually because I liked this one more, or if it was just because I think I might have liked the first book more, a little bit more, but I enjoyed the experience of this one better. So I think for the third book, I might try to get Chris to physically read it with me again. Like, we can listen to the audiobook together, but like at the same time, so that if I have questions and stuff, he can answer it, because I get a little confused about the science sometimes. But I ended up really enjoying it. Like I said, 4 stars. And it just gets more ridiculous and convoluted, and but it is also like very high stakes and everything as well. Okay. Oh, and I already had pulled that one up, and I read this one on the 21st as well. That was like a big finish day for me. Something that I need to do this year sooner rather than later. I don't think I have the brain capacity for it today. I think this might be a shorter stream. But something I definitely want to start doing in the next few weeks is maybe start ranking the books that I've read this year, because I think it would be really fun at the end of the year to be able to go like, I mean, obviously it's kind of flexible, like one day I could look at a stack of 5 books and put them in an order, and then like a week later I could have shifted them around, because just based off of my mood, I could be thinking about something differently. So stuff is like always subject to flux and change, based off of how I'm feeling, but just to have a general sense of like my most favorite to my least favorite book of the year, I think would be super interesting to have on a list. So I would like to start going through like the nearly 300 books that I've read this year and start ranking them, although that will be quite difficult at this point. If I did it as I was finishing books and just dropping them in, that would be a lot easier. But I'm doing it with a lot of hindsight, and maybe I don't remember the book super well. I think it will be difficult in like all cases, that it will be difficult for the books that I don't remember super well, like maybe like the 2 and 3 stars that weren't particularly memorable, or a lot of the 4 stars that I really liked, but like it's hard to rank them because there's so many of them, or the 5 stars because I love them all so much. Like, how do I choose? But I think it would be like a fun mental exercise, and it's relevant because the next book I'm talking about, I think if I did make that list, I think it would be in my top 10 of the year. I loved it so desperately. So if I do a ranking, this book would probably be in my top 10 of 2023. Definitely a new all-time favorite book for me. So with that big, suspenseful, dramatic introduction, let's talk about it. Hello. You're working on your reading tracker, so it's good timing. Yes, sifting through them and ranking them will be so daunting, but I think it will also like prompt me, because sometimes I read a book and then after a month I never think about it again. So I think it would be good to like go back after, in some cases, like 8 months, if I haven't thought about this book, and like think about it again and be like, I don't know, just have to put a little mental power into it. Because with reading so many books, sometimes you like read it and then just drop it instantly. Okay, so the book that is one of my favorite books of all time now is Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. Brilliant, loved it so much. And I guess this means I'm a horror person now, because I have been reading more and more horror, and I am just loving it. But this was incredible. Came out a month ago. It's horror, it's queer, and it is just impeccable. The like little subtitle at the top, in case you can't read it, says they'll scare you straight to hell. So I was really excited when I saw this came out. I haven't read anything by Chuck Tingle, although he's definitely been on my radar for a long time. I'm definitely interested in reading some of his other books, but I just have never made it a priority. But in the past, he's only self-published, and in the past, everything he's written has been like gay comedy porn, which is definitely a thing, and I've heard that they are really great and super funny. But I was really interested when I saw that this came out, because it's like published by Tor, I believe. Yeah, Tor Nightfire. And I was like, oh, that's really awesome that he got picked up by like a traditional publisher, and he's already a really big name, so it's really cool that he was able to sell like traditionally and stuff. But I had no idea, like, and also it's like his horror debut. He's only written like romances before, so I was just very interested. But oh my gosh, I loved it so much. Like, this is for the queer people with like religious trauma. This is the book for you. And I would also say, like, be gentle and kind to yourself if you're gonna read this. I I feel like even a year ago, I don't think I would have been able to read this. I think it would have been like too raw, too triggering for me. I would have been too tender still. But I've done a lot more like healing and deconstructing in the last year even, and I think I was like in the perfect spot in my life to read this book and like be able to truly get the most out of it. But oh my gosh, I loved it so much. It was just incredible. So we follow this main character who um, she's about to, or she's just graduated high school. She's 20. She's basically living in this like community in like the middle of America, like in the Midwest, I think. And they like the kids in this town who are like part of this church get they use 2 years of their schooling. They'll like take them out for a grade and they just do like a specific religious study, and then they do that again, so they don't graduate till 2 years after. So she's 20, she's just graduated, and she's just I don't know, her life is just starting, and she's like at like a end of the school year like party. She's incredibly religious and is always like praying and quoting the Bible and knows it front to back and everything. And she's at this party like in the woods near like a swimming hole, and she sees this like weird like figure, and it's just like very strange and kind of freaks her out. And she just starts feeling like really cold and odd, but it ends up passing and it's okay. And then over the course of some time, she starts seeing her more, and some more odd things start happening, and like you can see these bugs coming out of the mouth. And I don't know, I don't want to say too much because I didn't know very much going into it, but my god, I loved it so much. It was just I couldn't put it down. I just absolutely binged it, and it made me cry, and it just brought me an immense amount of joy. And yeah, I don't know, I don't even have words for how much I loved this book. Incredible. So beautiful. A new all-time favorite. And like I said, I was definitely like, it was a perfect place in my life, the perfect time in my life, that I really, not only was like, am I in a place right now that like this is the right, like wasn't too triggering, like I could like accept it, but also like it just like fed my soul. It was very like healing to read it. Okay, next book I read. This one was super fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much. This next book is Ghosted. It's by Amanda Quain, and it is a Northanger Abbey novel. It's young adult, and basically it's Northanger Abbey, but it's gender bent. Almost every character has a different gender. And we're following Mr. Tilney's point of view. So it's Hattie Tilney, and her mom is the headmistress of Northanger Abbey boarding school. And there's like a new transfer student who is Kit Moreland, and she's kind of tasked with showing him around school and getting him like accustomed to Northanger Abbey, and he's there on like a scholarship from like a ghost hunters association, because Northanger Abbey is like supposed to be haunted, and he's like very into the occult and ghost hunting, and Hattie is like not about that. So they definitely, in this, they definitely changed the personality and the like tendencies of Hattie Tilney, of Mr. Tilney, like a lot. But also, she's a teenager in the 21st century. So I wasn't mad about that. I think the way it was done, I ended up really enjoying, and I also ended up enjoying the ending quite a bit, and I ended up enjoying that because in Northanger Abbey, it's very cut and dry, that it's like, oh gosh, what is her last name? Oh, I don't even remember her name. That's really bad. But Catherine Morland's friend is just like ends up being like a stupid tramp that goes after the old, like, Captain Tilney, and that Captain Tilney is just like the worst, suckiest, gross sleazebag ever, and that Mr. Tilney, like the father, is just like cold-hearted and evil and doesn't want someone who like doesn't have money and associations around his family, and that, I don't know, there's just like, there's all these, it's very dramatic, and that's like the point, is that it's like a gothic novel parody, and that all these characters are very characteristic, that they're caricatures, that they are very over the top, and that they're villain roles, and that they're like playing out these archetypes and these stereotypes, and like that is the point of Northanger Abbey. This is not a criticism of Northanger Abbey, it's just what it is. But I love that Amanda Quain was able to take the basis of it and then dig a layer deeper and give reasons behind, and give people the opportunity to make up, to give each other second chances, to that it's not just like the book ends and that everybody cuts each other off and nobody's talking to each other at the end of the book, and then it's just like it's quite sad, honestly. And it's like, in this, it's like, no, that's like not the end, that people can like give each other second chances, and that people can like make amends, and that it's not all cut and dry, and that people aren't archetypes and stereotypes and stuff. And I ended up really enjoying how Amanda ended up handling that, and how the way that Hattie views everybody is very colored by her own biases, and that she's incredibly self-centered and self-focused, and she's just trying to survive, and she's in such a survival focus mode that she doesn't really care about other people. And that she really has to take other people just telling her, like, you need to do better, and you need to be better, and you need to, like, I understand that you're struggling, but you need to be better, to really wake up and like try to look at other people with nuance, and not just look at them through her lens, but try to like look at them and see where they're coming from and stuff. And I don't know, I just think it was handled really well, and I really liked that. but I think it totally changes the character of Mr. Tillany. But I don't think that was a bad thing. It was totally intentional and the choice. And I don't know. I really liked it. I thought it was really fun. I do think it was a little long. It was almost 400 pages for a YA contemporary. 400 pages for a YA contemporary? Please. I think we could have cut out like 100 pages. And that was. Or at least 75 pages. Like, it really, I think it could have been snipped down. It did feel a little long, and I mean, I think you can see that with my reading, is that I really binged through the first half, and then I got a little slow over the middle, and I was like, okay, blah, 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 and then I was able to pick it back up and get through the second bit. But I definitely took a dip on the reading there because it was just really long. But honestly, it was such a delight, and I'm so glad I read it. I think it was a really good retelling of Northanger Abbey. And I finished that on the 24th, and I'm giving it 4 stars. Beautiful. Okay. And then I was gonna say we're almost caught up, but we still have like 3 books to go. Okay, so A House of Roots and Ruin. Sorry, House of Roots and Ruin. So this is the second book to Sisters of the Salt. So I read the first book when it came out. So 2019, I'm guessing, is when I read it. And I feel like I read it with Kara. I read it with somebody. Maybe it wasn't with Kara. Yeah, I don't know. But I read this, yeah, like October 2019. And so it's a retelling of the 12 dancing princesses, and basically it's like the family's cursed and a bunch of the princesses keep dying. There's like 12 sisters, and like the mom's dead, like 4 or 5 of the sisters are dead. I think more even die throughout the book. It's like lots and lots of death. They're like heavily cursed. And in the sequel, I don't want to say too much, I don't want to spoil. One, this book is way too long, 544 pages. Hell no. But this book is following one of the sisters. And I guess that's all I'll say. And it happens like, I don't know, like 10 years later ish. Maybe 15. It happens way later. But it's following one of the sisters. And I DNF'd it. It was so long, and I was very bored. God, why was it so long? I got 38% through, 6 hours of the audiobook, and I was just waiting to care. I think if it was cut down by like 100 plus pages, if it was like speedier, choppier, like if I snappier, that's the word I'm looking for. Like if it was faster paced, if things were happening, if it was just so drawn out and so slow, then I definitely could have kept going with it. But I literally felt like I was reading this book for so long, and then looking at it and realizing that I wasn't even 40% through. Oh, I was like, I'm not going to spend more than double the amount of time that I've already spent in this book, because nothing has happened. Like a little bit has happened, but nothing had happened for so long, and I was bored. So, I mean, it's just too long book syndrome. It's just, seriously, if it just been chopped down, I don't know, even 100 pages, 150 pages, even if it was just 400 pages for a fantasy, like, I can do that, but 550 pages, and it was just so slow and boring, like, I just couldn't. Even though I did really like the first book, I gave it 4 stars, but the first book was only 400 pages, and I don't understand why the sequel had to be 150 pages longer, because I didn't feel bored reading the first book. Oh well. It is what it is. I was really excited that this had a sequel, because I really enjoyed the first book when I read it. But what are you gonna do? I'm not gonna spend my time on this book where I felt like I was like pulling teeth to read it. When was this? The 25th? Yeah. Especially when a lot of this stuff felt like it didn't need to be there. I guess that's what the issue is too. Is like, it could have been a lot. It could have been a lot shorter. The author was just trying to build a lot of atmosphere. But I don't need 20 pages of atmosphere. I want something to happen. So. Okay, next book I finished. 13th Child. So I was reading this last week, and then I kind of forgot that I was reading it. And then I was like, oh, I'm gonna be doing my wrap up on Sunday. I need to finish this book. So you inspired me to finish this. I did really enjoy it. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. Yeah, so I already talked about it last week. I don't know if I really feel like talking about it again. So basically, the main character is a 13th child, and so she's like incredibly unlucky and has been like told her whole life that she is like a cursed child and she's gonna turn evil and like kill everyone and be horrible. And so she's like been really worried about this her whole life, and then so finally her parents move away with like half of the family to somewhere else where nobody knows that she's a 13th child, so that people will literally stop like harassing her and trying to like get her thrown in jail as like a 4-year-old and stuff. And so then she's like growing up on the edge of this like magical border that's like blocking out all these like wild magic animals, and it's like the magic barrier, and it's just like about her growing up and learning magic and kind of learning about these different animals. And I don't know, it was just like, it was like slow, but also it was fast, because we go from her like being born to her being 18. So cover her whole life, and it's all being told in retrospect. Like, she's like, here, I'm going to tell you the story of my life, and it's just kind of telling you the important bits of her life. And yeah, I don't know. As pointed out by other Goodreads reviewers, like Kara from Wild Book Garden, even though this is taking place in like an alternate reality, alternate universe, in America and settling America, there are like no indigenous people in Americas, just animals. So that was a weird choice. And I just finished it yesterday. I was really busy after I finished it and haven't had the time to look into it, but I would also love to see some specifically like Black reviewers' thoughts on like the use of like African magic in it. But overall, I ended up really enjoying it. I really liked the main character F a lot, and I loved following her, and I just had a good time reading it. I like the idea of this like science fantasy. It's very fun. What day did I read this? Yesterday, the 26th. Okay, cool. And I finally finished it, and I finally read it, even though it's been on my TBR since 2011, so only 12 years in the making. Okay, and then the final book that I read, very excited about this one, is that today I finished up listening to Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. So it's T. Kingfisher's newest book. It just came out. Ooh, excuse me. It just came out August 15th, so 2 weeks ago. And I really liked it. So it's a Sleeping Beauty retelling, but we're not following Sleeping Beauty. We're following this character named Toadline. I think that's her name. Yeah, Toadline. It says, there's a princess trapped in a tower. This isn't her story. Meet Toadline. On the day of her birth, she was stolen from her family by the fairies, but she grew up safe and loved in the warm waters of fairyland. Once an adult, though, the Fae ask a favor of Toadline. Return to the human world and offer a blessing of protection to a newborn child. Simple, right? If only. Centuries later, a knight approaches a towering wall of brambles, where the thorns are as thick as your arm and as sharp as swords. He's heard there's a curse here that needs breaking, but it's a curse Toadline will do anything to uphold. So she's hanging around outside the thorns and trying to stop people from going near them, and and war unfolds as we go throughout. And I thought it was a very interesting Sleeping Beauty retelling. And I enjoyed it a lot. And I'm gonna give it 4 stars, but I mean, T. Kingfisher continues to be one of my favorite authors, so good job. There we go. Okay, nice. Okay. And I just realized that I did all those, that I didn't. Oop. Put them in this part of the spreadsheet, which is a problem. I need to do that. Yeah, bear with me a minute. There we go. That should be everything. Okay, perfect. So I finished these on the 21st. That on the 24th. 25th, 26th, 27th. Perfect. And the one that I finished on the 25th, I DNF'd at 38%. Beautiful. Okay, which puts me at 288 books for the year. But that includes DNFs, so it's not that many. But it is a lot. And I'm finally reading again, which feels really good. I took a couple weeks off there. Thank goodness. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the bathroom, take a little break, but I will be right back, and then I'm gonna figure out where these books fit into my reading. Okay, so what I wanted to do is that I guess I wanted to make a list of all the books that I have finished this month, I'm gonna zoom out of this just so I can see them on the side. I'm sorry, this is too small for you to see very well. Okay, so Garlic and the Witch, Lord Brocktree, Juniper and Bean, Citadel of Witches, nothing to see here. Okay. I did read the Skull. Nothing but Blackened Teeth, Venomous, Briar Rose, Unmarked Witch I DNF'd. Okay. This I DNF'd. And this I DNF'd. Okay. So 13th Child. Okay. I'm still currently reading Monster Friends, still haven't finished that. I'm pretty sad about it. I just started My Best Friend's Exorcism. That's one that I have to read because it was the first book that I saw on Goodreads. But I literally just started it. I have no thoughts yet. Except I also haven't seen E.T. and I need to. Okay, Confessions. I did read that. Where's... Okay, so for Mort, I was gonna do... For continuing the series, I was gonna do Mort, but I actually did for We Are Many. I was gonna... try to continue a series with Christopher on our trip, and I thought we were going to do Mort, and I asked him if he would want to listen to Mort, and he's like, not really that much in the mood. Could we listen to something else? And I was like, do you want to listen to For We Are Many? And he was like, yeah, I'd much rather listen to that. Okay, so that was a good... But they were both continuing series, so that was a very easy swap. Okay. So I still have these four. One of them I know was already supposed to be in here. Thornhenge. Read a horror book. Although that wasn't very horror. I saw people saying that Thornhenge was horror, but it's not very horror. But Camp Damascus was horror, so I could put that in as horror. Read a book in 2 days, though. I read Thornhenge in 2 days, so I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do read a book in 2 days as Thornhenge. Thornhenge. I keep wanting to say Thornhenge. Like Stonehenge. Thornhenge. Cancel, you little brat. Okay. And then I can do Camp Damascus as my horror. Because that was proper horror, and it was proper great. Oh, it was so good. How long was it? 256. Ugh, so good. Okay. What else? So, Ghosted and the Black Death. Clothing on the cover, I could put Ghosted in for that. Oh, and she wrote another book about Georgiana Darcy. That's so cute. Okay, so I could put it in for an audiobook, or I could put it in for clothing on the cover. And I think I'm going to do it for clothing on the cover just because that's pretty easy. And I can quite easily put in an audiobook for like anything else. But clothing on the cover is a little bit harder, although not that hard if I'm reading a book about people, honestly. Can't believe this book was 11 hours though. Jesus. 384. Excellent. Okay, so then the last book that I haven't found a home for is The Black Death, New Lessons from Recent Research. And let me pull it up, what it looks like. This has clothing on the cover too. A book with no magic? It could work for that. Okay, I think I'll have to do that. I could also do an audiobook, but I feel like this is better. Okay, so The Black Death, new lessons from recent research. By Dorsey Armstrong. Okay, so honestly, things aren't looking too bad. I have finished 16 of the prompts out of the 42, so like halfway there. I mean, I know that's not halfway, but it's like almost halfway, you know? And I think by the end of the month, so I have like 5 more days. If I can get through 4 more books, then it would be halfway, and then I have all of September to get to the rest of the books. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. I also want to see. So if I just have these go up to the 17th instead of the 17th column instead of the first column, this will also give me a better idea of like what I actually need to be reading each day, which is much better. Which is only 4. Oh. Yeah. And actually that's right, that I have like 34 days or something like that to read these. So I need to be reading like 5 hours a day still to get through these. So that is accurate. I do need to grab a book with bad in the title again, because the book that I was trying to read, I DNF'd. I didn't DNF. I just decided to put it back on my TBR because I wasn't in the mood for it. Do you think... Hi, Elizabeth. Do you think for bad in the title that badass would work? I think it should, right? Bygone badass broads. Yes, since it has bad in the title. Excellent. Thank you. I think I'll try to do that one then, since I've owned it on Audible for a few years. Okay, so then I'm feeling pretty good about my TBR for next month. Although I still have some books that I have checked out from the library that aren't on this list, so I need to try to get to them. but it's not that many. It's only 4 over the next month. So I think I can fit those 4 books in and try to get all of these. I think it's doable. And yeah, so my plan, I guess, for the week as far as reading is just going to be my best friend's exorcism to start with, but then definitely How to Keep Household Drowning, because that's the next book that's due at the library. But then after that, I don't have anything due at the library super soon, and I have all of these that I think I can just start, I don't know, just picking them up at random, and I think it will be okay. I think I'm just going to try to pick them up at like whatever sounds the most interesting to me. But yeah, I think that's it. I know you came in right when I was ending. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think that's it. I feel like I'm reading again, which is very nice, and I feel like I am mentally, like, cognizantly aware, I guess, enough to be reading again, which is nice, and enjoy reading again, because there was a few weeks there that it was a struggle, so, woo, but I still feel like this whole year, there's barely been any what is this? Okay, sorry, I was in the wrong spreadsheet. This whole year, there's barely been any, like, strong inconsistencies with my reading, which is very nice. Why are you saying reference? There we go. What is 26? So for the whole year, there's only been 11 days that I haven't read, which is really good. I feel really good about that. That is my best reading year of my whole life, honestly. At least of my adulthood, you know. I don't know how much as a kid I was reading every single day, like preteen years. I don't remember that, but of my adult life, every year there has at least been a month where I haven't read. So far this year, it's only been a few days here or there, which is good. Anyway, I'm just rambling at this point, but thanks for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. Sorry if this was like more low energy, just a little exhausted, but yeah, next week I should be back with another reading update, and hopefully I'm able to get through enough that I only have half my TBR left for next month, and feel like I'm ahead of the game. I'm still feeling, since I've only been, I feel like, really been back on my reading for like a week, I still feel a little bit wary of like really heavily planning out my reading, but if I'm still really good at consistently reading this week, then I think I'm gonna try to do a heavier planning session for next week, to really try to like get September going and try to get through all these books, because I don't want to lose the autumn equinox. Anyway, also, Elizabeth, if you're still here, if you would resend me that link on Instagram, I would love to join that Discord and see if that helps motivate my reading for September as well. That would be awesome. Thank you so much. All right, thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate it, and I will see you in a week. Goodbye.